Flopsy and the Easter Bunny Olympics, part 13 of 40. By the time the 12th and final group of a dozen bunnies was officially queued next to the 400-meter steeplechase start line, 108 bunnies had either completed the two-lap race or were currently going over, under, around, and through the 8-course obstacles that each bunny would navigate 4 times over the course of the 400 meters. I found myself positioned directly behind Bustle and in front of 5 bunnies who had completed the 500-meter burden endurance run faster than we had. There were 3 bunnies between Bustle and Woundwort, and a single bunny stood in line in front of the foul-mouthed Lagomorph, waiting for her cue to begin racing. As we stood in line, the bunny directly behind me whispered, "Sorry that Woundwort was such a bear back there to you. No bunny should be treated like that." "Sorry?" I replied, turning to see the bunny directly behind me. "Woundwort, calling you names because you're white? Despicable. Have a good race." "Thanks, you too. I'm Flopsy, by the way." "Yes," the other bunny laughed. "I think everybody in the squad knows your name." "I'm Pax," he said, turning his head to my right side and from a distance sniffing before turning to the left and repeating his sniff. "A pleasure. Looks like we're about to go. Have a good race." "You too," I replied, following Pax's example of a nod at formal greeting rather than an embrace of same, and feeling better for his words despite having been distracted from the task at paw. Bustle and I had spent most of our 9-minute wait side by side watching the race on the Jumbotron and whispering into one another's ears. At first, our entire focus had been on watching our fellow racers scramble over, under, around, and through the 8 obstacles that made up the race course, but we soon came to realize that long lines would sometimes form at each of the obstacles. I shared with Bustle how in my steeplechase race a month before that I'd gone over, under, around, or through for nearly an entire lap before truly understanding that how a bunny negotiated queuing could have a very big impact on race time. Watching the bunnies on the course, Bustle and I whispered back and forth concerning what looked like effective strategies not only for how to get over, under, around, or through, but also what did or didn't seem like good ways to negotiate the course traffic jams. As the 109th bunny was sent scrambling to the first obstacle, Bustle turned to me, offered me a nose kiss, then whispered, "Good luck, I hope you come in second," before winking, turning so she again faced forward and advancing to 5th in line. My face, which I'm sure had momentarily scrunched in confusion, blossomed into a smile as I processed what Bustle had meant. Her funny way of saying good luck warmed my heart, but the smile on my face disappeared nearly as fast as it had appeared as I waited the final 5 seconds behind her. Woundwort and the bunny behind him had already started their race, and I tried to calm my nerves by taking deep breaths as I waited to hear the race official declare, "Go!" in my ear. I'd begun to think the race official had forgotten about me when the official turned to me, lifted his front left paw, inhaled, and said, "Go!" as he flashed his paw downward before motioning to Pax to move forward to the start line in preparation of his start. The distance from the start line to the first obstacle was a few short meters, but I, like Bustle before me, hopped sedately to the back of the first queue. Though I wanted to sprint to the head of the line, the queue ahead of me prevented me from scrambling over the blue wall and sprinting to the first yellow or under obstacle. The queue was easily a dozen deep, and I was confused when I realized there was no sign of Woundwort. I watched as Montangloro, a bunny I knew from school, scrambled over the obstacle's top. I likewise watched as the buck who had followed her in line nipped at her heels, but search as I might, I remained clueless as to Woundwort's whereabouts. 2 more bunnies plus Bustle hopped their way up, and then either lunged or scrambled down before I scrambled my way to the top where, in the flash of a microsecond, I momentarily glanced forward to obstacle number 2, where I saw Woundwort going around as opposed to under the obstacle. Confused, but far too busy with my own race to try to solve the riddle, I made a scary leap from the top of obstacle 1 and scrambled as quickly as I could to obstacle 2, passing 3 bunnies along the way before diving down beneath the brambles and briars, racing so fast that I found myself literally on Bustle's heels. Racing forward, I told myself I needed to thank my mother for having instilled in me a great appetite for reading. My mother's example as an avid reader, plus her encouraging me to read by reading to me as a baby bunny, had led to me reading non-fiction books about the Easter Bunny games, along with the far more entertaining biographies of past multiple games winners. By reading book after book about the Easter Bunny games, I'd gone beyond just training my body, as I'd also trained my mind. Through my reading, I'd learned that bunnies throughout North America, and certainly in Chiwere-Siouan, tended to select the left or center tunnels more frequently than they did the right ones, and all that information I'd learned from books and tucked away in my brain led me to select the tunnel farthest to my right. Whether a bunny chose a left, center, or right side path for our under adventure, I, like every bunny, found quarters within the yellow obstacle extremely tight. Scrambling beneath the earth, I had a slight advantage over the older, larger bunny whose size made the tighter spots harder to slip through. My training, both physical and mental, had put me in a position to do well, and I put my best race forward and negotiated the multiple left, right, left turns and quickly scrambled out of the first under obstacle. Clear of the first yellow obstacle, I found myself being chased by a very surprised Bustle. A Bustle who now found herself on my heels as opposed to her starting line position in front of me.